Welcome to the Beyond the Veil Summit, a free online event where you'll explore the mysteries surrounding near-death experiences, mediumship, and the science of the afterlife. Share this event with your friends and family, and come join us on Facebook at The Shift Network. And now your host, Lisa Bonnice.
Welcome to this session of the Beyond the Veil Summit with my guest, JoyaGallasch. Our topic today is the gifts of a near-death experience, self-love and embodiment tools to be fully present on this earth. JoyaGallasch is an expert transformational teacher, intuitive, author, visionary entrepreneur, and self-love ambassador. As a mentor and retreat leader, she's taught workshops, retreats, and year-long programs on purpose, transformation, and women's empowerment in the U.S. and Europe for more than 25 years. Joya, thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story. So let's go ahead and start with your NDE as sort of a foundation. Would you please tell us what happened to you?
Gladly. I experienced my near-death experience after an operation I actually never wanted to have. And so the night after that specific operation, I suddenly experienced this wave of gratitude. And it was so strong that at one point I noticed that I could not feel my body anymore. And as you can imagine, I started to investigate because I wanted to see if I was still in my body or if I had left my body. And all I basically experienced was this incredible energy, and everything was pulsating. So my first stage in that experience was these waves of gratitude. And then after a while, it shifted to something else. And it was actually something that was not as pleasant, as expansive as the gratitude. It was actually a sense of hardness. And what then happened was that I was actually almost like in a movie. I was taken into different experiences in my life where I had been hard on myself. And I actually got to re-experience each and every, I don't know if it was each and every, but it felt like each and every experience where I was self-critical, where I was hard, where I didn't believe in myself, where I wasn't good enough, or I felt not good enough. And so that was a rather uncomfortable and unpleasant experience. And again, I did not have a sense of my body, so it felt a little scary at times, yet I stayed with it. I was breathing deeply in and deeply out. And eventually I shifted to another stage, which was if I choose a word for it, I would call it forgiveness, the energy of forgiveness. So suddenly these waves of forgiveness would just wash over me. And I realized that I had to forgive myself for all these little slivers in my life when I had been hard on myself. And so the first part was that I started to forgive myself. And then eventually I shifted into remembering people that I wanted to forgive, and specifically one person that I had experienced, childhood abuse when I was little. And so that in itself, it was interesting, all the different levels. Certainly the gratitude was so specific in feeling like gratitude. And then obviously the hardness was so about hardness and feeling uncomfortable. And forgiveness was this all-encompassing forgiveness energy. And then eventually I was taken into this, it felt like an infinite space that was filled with beautiful golden light. And I would probably call it this pure of the purest love that I got to taste, that I got to float in, that I got to be, because still I was in this formless and bodiless state. And during this stage or this phase, eventually I heard a voice. I can't remember that I saw an entity or a being, which I normally have a very easy time with. And I started to hear sounds, and eventually the sounds became almost like an instruction. And I was instructed why self-love is so important for us humans, and how to bring that fully into my life, bring it into my body, live it through my body. And then I was told that I had to go back and share these easy and practical tools with people so they would remember how to return back to love and self-love. And so this, I have no idea how much time all of this took. Eventually, I remember that this golden light started to fade. And what was interesting too was there wasn't a portal where I had the option to leave my body or not. And that was interesting because the weekend before my operation, I felt like that I wouldn't come back. And so already back then in the meditation, I heard a voice that said to me, well, would you like to come back? And I said, yes, please, please. I feel like I'm not complete on this planet. And so that's, looking back in hindsight, that's why I feel I didn't have this portal experience. It was actually very clear that I had to go back. And so as the golden light faded, this beautiful experience of this pure love, became less and less, although I felt like I brought it back with me. And eventually I landed back in my body, and there I was, of course, feeling the pain of the operation. And of course, in full awareness of what had just happened, and in full awareness that I had just dropped back into my body that needed to heal.
Wow, that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. I've got so many questions I want to ask you about this, but first, before we get into that, I understand that you found a way to make your near-death experience practical. How are you actually using this?
Well, I'm very, very grateful that it's not just a very good story that I can share and that I can inspire or even possibly uplift people with, that I was actually told or offered these very simple and practical tools that so connected me back into my body. Because I've noticed so many people, be it because of stress or sometimes also, because of not wanting to be in the body, they kind of disconnect. So I was, in a way, almost like with a little hammer, I was told that I really, really needed to land in my body, and how important it is to be grounded to the earth, and how to celebrate and honor this beautiful body temple, because it is, our vessel, our instrument, our channel, to be here on this planet and to express ourselves. So the fact that it wasn't just something that I can, return back in meditation and feel blissful when I connect to the experience, yet being able to for myself and of course for my clients, to share really simple, easy, practical tools that connect you to your body, that connect you to the spirit world, that connect you to your spirituality. I'm very, very grateful about it.
Okay, thank you. Now, One thing that really stood out while you were telling the story of what happened was because I've talked to a lot of people who've talked about their life review, and you're the only one who's actually really gone into this forgiving yourself, and that was so beautiful because so many of us we constantly beat ourselves up, and the fact that that's what you were shown. Look at how much you've beat yourself up over the years, and so you were shown that you need to, first of all, forgive yourself for beating yourself up, and then to forgive yourself for the things you were beating yourself up for. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That is a very, very important one, because I'm noticing it with my clients. And of course, I'm fully aware also with myself. I mean, I'm no saint here. It's so easy to drop into what I call the hardness. And the hardness can show up by being self-critical, being in doubt, being skeptical, certainly feeling not enough this, not enough smart, not enough educated, not enough wealthy or accomplished. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And when we basically stop this pattern, stop this almost to a certain extent insanity, and it's certainly very unhealthy, and bring ourselves back to who we really are, these beautiful, beautiful, human beings with a spiritual experience, and look at who we are and how far we've come, and really, really acknowledge that, and use forgiveness to just as a form, I guess forgiveness I would also call a form of self-love, to forgive myself for this, that, and the other. What happens is there's a softening taking place in the body, and we slowly come back to this original state, to our essence, to who we truly are. So forgiveness and forgiving ourselves is super important, and so I'm grateful to share a little bit about it here.
Yeah, you mentioned that was one of the messages that you were given, is that you were supposed to come back and teach why self-love is so important. And I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit, but I'd also like to hear, why do you suppose this was your specific message out of all the millions of people on earth? Your specific message to pass on to people is why self-love is so important.
Very good question. Well, as I shared before, I had a scroll. It wasn't just a list. It was a whole scroll of areas and times and places where I had been hard on myself, where I had been critical, where I was way, too serious. It's what's the saying? You teach what you need the most. So as I share this information, it's a constant reminder, day in, day out, step by step, for myself to be a vessel, to be a channel of love. And how do I do that? Because people sometimes, I guess, feel that love is so unreachable, or you experience love when you fall in love, or when you do something good. And it's actually pretty simple. Once again, pretty easy, because self-love starts with being good to yourself, paying attention, slowing down sometimes, gifting yourself something that is feeding your soul, is feeding your body, being self-aware, being in the present moment, being kind, being compassionate. So to bring this awareness, it's really an awareness practice, to people is such a blessing for myself, because when I share it with my clients, I feel like I'm tapped into that source too. And it's opening up my body and it's opening up my channel to, I call it, I turn on the light to be fully present in my body, fully present to the present moment, fully present on this planet Earth, and be a source of divine expression.
Right. So it sounds like you're talking about when you're able to actually feel these emotions that actually sort of catapult you into connection. So let's talk about how feeling can actually help you create a spiritual experience and connect you to your source. How does that work for you?
I love this question. Thank you so much. So I would say I call feeling and emotions a superpower. So I encourage and inspire each and every woman to stand for it, because it's also I call it a specific gift the feminine has. And I invite each and every man to open up to it, to have times where you are vulnerable. And also, if you're in relationship with a woman or you're married, allow that woman to be emotional at times when needed. So the reason why I call feelings a superpower is because when we allow ourselves to become real and raw and authentic and feel what is truly going on right now, actually something happens in our heart, within our heart. And I like to call the heart center, and it's very interesting that it is sort of almost the center, of our body. So it connects us to the higher realms, and then it also connects us to the earth, to the first 3 energy centers. And so when we come into connection with our heart, and even, placing hands on your heart at times helps you to experience that. We have not only a physical experience, yet when you allow yourself to feel, especially the feelings and the emotions that are uncomfortable, that are not so nice, that we have a tendency, we want to push them under the rug, not go there because we might drown or get lost. When we have the courage to feel, let's say, an extreme emotion, let's say it's anger or it's rage, and we know that we will be fine, and we put our hands on the heart and we breathe in and connect on the deepest level with that feeling. A lot of times what I witness with my clients is that there is another emotion under the very first one. And it's almost like we're starting to drop deeper and deeper and deeper as we allow to feel fully. It's almost a uniting with the feeling. And eventually what happens is that pretty much all of my clients, I don't know if there was one that didn't, there is a space that I would call emptiness, or an expansive space, or a sense of freedom starts to open up. And then suddenly there's lightness. There's a sense of possibility again. There's a sense of bliss. So that's why I like to call feeling such a superpower. Not only does it connect us to our body, it helps us to clear what needs to be cleared in the present moment, helps us to become, fully present. And once we reach this space, this emptiness, this expansiveness, this state of lightness or bliss, I would also call it, there's a connection to our spiritual self, where the bliss suddenly becomes a spiritual experience. So it's not that the heavens have to open up and the angels are singing. Sometimes it can be as simple as the heart connection and the heart opening up, and something releasing, something transforming, something washing out of us. And there we are back to our innocence or back to our purity. So that's why I'm a big how would I call it, a spokesperson for owning our feelings and our emotions.
All right. Beautifully stated. Thank you for that. Now, I'm sure, as you realize, because you were before NDE and after NDE, and you realize how difficult it can be to actually make that connection and trust that there actually is that we all have connection to our divine essence. And so, when you're working with people who haven't yet experienced that, how can you help them strengthen that trust and that connection?
I usually start by having them fill out a form, or I'll have them tell me 3 really big life events, let's call them challenges, that they mastered. Because what I'm noticing is that so many people, they don't really cut themselves any slack of what they have already done and accomplished or even mastered during their life. And so I've noticed when they drop into this acknowledgement and this recognition, there is a settling into the heart where they slowly, with some people it takes a little longer, and slowly they start also noticing how, again, they've been so hard on themselves, and how being hard really sort of like hardens the body. And then it's almost like it causes eventually, if you believe over and over and over that you're not good enough, a shutdown in the body. And the shutdown, I mean, if we imagine that our bodies are these vessels, these instruments, and they're like an antenna too to the divine. It also, shuts down this valve, or valve, I think you pronounce it. And so once they start recognizing, wow, this is me, and this is how it feels to be me, and they experience gratitude for their life and their life experiences, I have different tools where I then also, as we connect to the heart, I just have them imagine how this experience of self-love is really their connection to something even greater. And many, many of my clients this way experienced possibly their very, as they called it, their very first spiritual opening. And I also keep telling them that sometimes it's not, the near-death experience, or it's not the almost during a meditation, leaving your body and being in a different realm. It can be as simple as I shared before, you feel something, you had a very good cry, and suddenly you are so present to everything that happens around you, or maybe even what is around you starts pulsating or vibrating, where some people have had it, during incredible sunsets where they just felt so connected to everything. And they started to taste, it's almost like a taste, their spiritual essence.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That I love that. Thank you. Now, I know that even myself, when I was younger, before I really learned how to do this kind of thing, and there are a lot of people who have never experienced or felt or heard or seen anything connected with the spirit world, and they feel like there's something wrong with them. I know I used to. How do you address people who say that?
Well, first of all, I would definitely tell them there's nothing wrong with you. And then I would actually investigate, let them share why they feel they never had a spiritual experience. And of course, sometimes it's as simple as setting an intention. I would like to experience something that goes beyond my body and beyond my mental capacity. And so you're basically starting to call that in. And at the same time, what I point out over and over is you need to become aware about the places where you are negative, where you're hard on yourself, where you're unwilling to feel, where you basically, when you have, you have certain issues, you have childhood wounds, I invite them, I encourage them, I inspire them to work with these places. I sometimes call them fragmentations of the soul. And what I've experienced is when people start to hear, these experiences, when they have the courage to feel, when they are open to go deeper, suddenly these, what we would, or I would possibly call spiritual experiences, suddenly here they are, unexpected. And I know it has taken some people by surprise. And so in a way, I guess the whole movement or the whole experience is very much also connected to self-responsibility and the awareness that we have a choice. When I wake up in the morning, what is my choice? Do I feed the wolf? I guess there's this image of, do I feed the wolf that stands for negativity or lower frequency and vibration? Or do I consciously say, I'm ready. I'm going to deal with my stuff. I'm going to look at my pieces. I'm going to feel. I'm going to be responsible and notice when I drop into victim energy. So I guess it's a journey very much accompanied also by the breath of awareness. And then doing the work. Some people feel like, oh, yeah, you had a near-death experience and now your life, is all different. Yes, I did. And guess what? I wasn't enlightened. Life still continued and life still had challenges and life still is a process. So it's really, really important to say yes to life and then become really self-responsible for your life.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, you mentioned that some people ask you that after your NDE that they're sort of assuming that now you're just sort of naturally enlightened. Let's talk about that a little bit. Obviously, you become more enlightened, but what do you feel you still need to be working on, or how far do you have to go? Let's just talk about that a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's very interesting, this whole word or experience of enlightenment, because I know a handful of friends who are very eager to experience that. And of course they ask me, do you feel more or do you feel enlightened? And I said, I don't know. I don't think so. So after this beautiful, deep spiritual experience, I still had to, carry water and chop wood. I think that's a very beautiful Zen saying. And I remember the book title, After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. So life continued. And as you might remember, I dropped into a body that was really, really aching and there was a lot of pain. So I literally was invited to practice what this voice told me, practice. And believe me, I had moments when I probably sucked, yet it inspired me. And I remember during my time in the hospital, I started to become very creative. So I would, breathe in love. I would basically dedicate my breath to the most self-healing self-love. And I would imagine that the walls and the floor and the ceiling, everything in my hospital room were made out of rose quartz, and it was pulsating healing energy. And I would basically drop into gratitude the moment, at 5 o'clock in the morning, the door opened and the first nurse showed up, and I would just shower them with gratitude for being there and being of support and so kind and so loving. And I even thanked, and I really meant it. I thanked my doctor. I said this was the best decision, although I never, ever, as I shared before, wanted to have this operation. But this was the best decision. And thank you so much for your skills and everything, And she laughed. I mean, she burst into laughter because she said nobody had ever said that to her. And so I guess, as I already mentioned, it's a journey. And it's a process, and it's not, life is not a destination, although obviously this final big experience called death might be, as this living being, a destination. But I always like to look at it that life is a journey, and it serves us, it serves you so well when we open up to lightness and to joy and to happiness, and don't take life, too serious or constantly create a pressure cooker, but to just let it go and let loose at times and become a little wild and spend time in nature and have fun and laugh a lot. So maybe that you could call a form of enlightenment. I don't know. It certainly is more fun to live this way than to hold a grudge or be hard on yourself.
I love the rose quartz visualization where the ceilings and the floors and everything. That is such a great visualization, whether you're in a hospital or not. So thank you for that one. I'll be using that one. Now, I also want to ask you, because this is the Beyond the Veil Summit, in your view, in your experience, what do you think the veil is, the separation between the worlds? Is there a separation? How can we communicate back and forth across the veil?
I personally love the image of the veil. And I imagine, when I traveled to a place, saw this crystal curtain. And it was interesting because in a meditation, I had this idea of creating a curtain with little crystals. And here somebody had picked up the idea. So I personally believe there is no separation. And that's really the issue here at heart, that we always so easily separate ourselves from these other, let's just call them these other or these higher realms, or maybe these more conscious realms. Because when I'm open, when you're open, when you're receptive, it's all always available. And I've had so many connections and encounters with my ancestors or with my divine team where I just ongoingly knew they're always here. And all it takes, and that's what I share with my clients too, especially with the women, is you have to call them in. And my experience is that really it's the guardian angels that can sort of come in without being asked. Yet the rest of the team wants to be called in and asked. And so when we allow ourselves to call them in, let's call them your divine team. Let's call them your guides, your teachers, your healers. Whatever name feels right for you, they are by your side. And once you tune your body and your system, you will start to feel them, to sense them. Some people, I've had experiences where there's a specific scent, and I know it's not coming from my environment. So have fun with it. Please. I mean, I sometimes even say, have a blast with it. being here on this planet Earth, fully embodied in this beautiful, body temple of yours, celebrating that, walking consciously on the earth, celebrating that, loving Mother Earth, and then also knowing this body is like an antenna, and through my heart and these higher chakras, these energy centers, I connect to the higher realms, and I can be with it. I would say all the time. And what I find very, very important to stress one more time is to be really embodied in your body. So you're here on this planet Earth. And then you can, start playing and inviting your team, your guides, your angels, your ancestors in, and allow them to help you. So you do it together, because I remember for myself, I used to think I need to do it all by myself, and that's not true. We can ask for help, and that's where I feel there is no separation between these worlds. And I would so inspire each and everyone listening to this to play with it, to experiment with it, and become fully embodied and shine your light as bright as you can.
All right, beautiful words. Thank you. Now, I just want to ask one thing. You're stressing how important it is to really be fully in your body. Why is that so important?
Well, I have to laugh, because my personal experience was that I had such an easy time to connect to the higher realms. I just call them higher realms. And I sometimes had this butterfly energy. And basically, people would even say to me, you are all over the place. And I've certainly noticed it very much with my female clients, that sometimes they're all over the place. And that's when sort of confusion, kicks in, and there's a lack of focus, a lack of structure, a lack of clarity. So when I sort of show them how to be in that body, basically, if we didn't need a body, we wouldn't choose a body to be birthed on this planet Earth. So let's make sure that we are using this beautiful instrument, this channel, this vessel, as I have called it before. And we basically, we learn how to be fully present in it, and how to express your unique gift and skills and talents. And that's so, so needed in the world. So I hope that explained, the question that you had.
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you so much. I personally needed to hear that. So thank you for answering that one. Now I'm looking at the clock and we're running low on time. So I just want to make sure before we go any further that I mention your websites. You've got two. One is womenuplift.com and the other is thegiftsofchange.org. And I wonder if you can tell us, what will people find on either of these websites?
I have a number of resources that people can have access to or can download. And of course, besides the websites, you can also find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on my YouTube channel, where I actually post a lot of videos about all sorts of topics, not only self-love, but how to be here, fully present on this planet, how to obviously be with change, how to see change as a chance. So you basically have a whole basket full of goodies that hopefully inspire you or support you in specific situations where you feel like you need support and help.
All right, thank you for that. Now, I understand that you've got a short exercise or meditation that you'd like to share with us.
I would love to if we still have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I invite everybody in this present moment to first close your eyes, and then, if you can, bring your awareness to the soles of the feet. And notice how your soles of the feet are touching the ground. And let's take a deep breath in and out with that. And then notice how the earth is actually touching your back. So there's a relationship, there's a communion taking place. And let's imagine that this simple connection, bringing your awareness to the soles of the feet, touching the earth, already offers a grounding and helps you to drop into your body. And as the next step, bring your hands to your heart, very gently, very soft. And let's say for the next 3 breaths in and out, become present of what you feel. So don't get lost in any story or analysis. Just notice, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? And use the breath in and out and in and out. Basically be with it. And you can imagine that this feeling that you experience is like a little child. So you're holding this little child with all your love, your kindness, your compassion. No judgment, only love. And as the final step, bring your awareness to the breath again. And imagine with each and every breath in and out, you're breathing in love. And you're breathing out love. And let's imagine that this love that you're breathing in and out has the color gold. So as you breathe in, your entire inside of your body is being filled with the love and with this beautiful golden light. And as you breathe out, you're sharing this love and this golden light. And you're filling your aura. And you're basically, as you continue breathing in and breathing out, you become present. You become this vessel of golden light and love. And the best part is you share it with each and every one that you come into contact. You share it very generously with the world. So let's take in one more deep and conscious breath. And out. And then slowly let go of your hands, touching the heart area. Bring your awareness back to your room. Notice the sounds. And then gently and slowly open your eyes and come back.
All right. Thank you, Joya. That was beautiful. Give us a second to come back into our bodies. Thank you. Wow, this has just been a really lovely conversation. I want to ask before we wrap, is there anything that you feel we need to discuss? Is there anything still sitting in your mind that needs to come out, or do you feel complete?
I feel very complete, and once again I invite myself, I invite us, you, the listener, to embrace life, to say yes. Make your life a yes, a continuous yes. Look up, open your eyes and look out, notice the beauty. And, live life with a sense of lightness and joy. And a sense of anything that comes my way, I have the strength and the ability to be with it and to handle it. And by being present to that, I become such an example. And hopefully all of us, including myself, we have much more fun living this way. So thank you.
Thank you again, Joya, for being with us today. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for your time. And I would like to thank everyone for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this conversation in the Beyond the Veil Summit.
Thank you for joining us for the Beyond the Veil Summit, brought to you by the Shift Network. To learn more, visit BeyondTheVeil01.com. To join our global community of people awakening to their divine humanity and taking inspired action, visit theshiftnetwork.com. Thank you again for gathering with us and for sharing this healing path with your friends and family.